Here's my audience. 1, 2,
Put me
3, and half.
in my half.
Okay. This is my Persuasive Speech, and the organization is Problem Cause Solution. My topic. The issue I will address is that society's abusive behaviors and attitudes, and how abuse is rooted in hatred, which leads us away from God. Okay. Imagine walking into a public place and seeing everyone covered in bruises and black eyes. School kids throwing punches instead of insults. Spouses slapping one another. Physical abuse is loudly noticeable and leaves scars. Society is plagued with abusive behaviors and attitude. Though this is not as obvious as physical abuse, the effects are just as harmful. According to the 2014 Children's Defense Fund's State of American Children Report, 1,825 children are abused or neglected each day in the U.S. And a child is killed by abuse or neglect every 5.5 hours. According to the Rape, Abuse, and Incest National Network, every 107 seconds another American is sexually assaulted. Abuse comes in many forms, affecting many people. This is a weapon of hate which interferes with God's desires for humanity. As a Christian, I know God's values should be a priority essential to living a happy and healthy life. I also know as a human being how easy it is sometimes to adopt behaviors and attitudes in our culture that can be abusive without realizing it. Abuse is a major social issue which influences our behaviors and attitudes as a whole. It diminishes love and safety that God desires for us to experience. Shedding light upon these problems and instead practicing love and respect can dramatically reduce the prevalence of this. I will validate this statement explaining various types of abuse, why abuse can occur unconsciously, then that is rooted in hate, and that the solution to our issue is to practice love and respect, which are God's values. Let's begin by exploring various types of abuse. Society is plagued by abusive behaviors and attitudes. Physical abuse can be defined as the use of physical force that may result in bodily injury, pain, or impairment. Emotional and psychological abuse can be defined as it is in Healthy Place website as any act including confinement, isolation, humiliation, intimidation, verbal assault, and other treatment which diminishes sense of dignity and self-worth.
Okay.
Then there is sexual abuse and harassment. Basically, any act that violates an individual in a sexual manner is sexual abuse. Hatred and disrespect against another is in its most basic form abuse. Now let's explore some common popular behaviors of emotional and verbal abuse. Abusive attitudes and behaviors occur so often that they happen unconsciously sometimes. Social media and the internet are prime locations where abuse can run rapid. Behind impersonal screens, young people often bully their peers without realizing these behaviors are actually abusive. Name-calling, emotional abuse, tearing down physical appearance, and judgment are commonplace. According to the Pew Research Center, it is estimated that 4 in 10 internet users are victims of online harassment. This is, too, another form of abuse. Judgment, disrespect that is shown to our peers, our family, strangers, is sometimes mistakenly disguised as a bad mood or attitude. In fact, this is abuse. Abuse comes in many forms, and there are many opportunities for us as a society to unconsciously adopt them. Fortunately, there is a solution. A solution to an abusive society is to understand it's rooted in hatred and that God values love and respect for one another. In John 13:34, it says, "A new commandment I give unto thee, that you love one another as I have loved you, that you also love one another." In 1 Peter 2:17, it also says that honor all people, love their brotherhood, fear God, and honor thy king. In Proverbs 10:12, it says that hatred stirs up strife, but love covers all offenses. Honoring these values, we can implement them into our everyday interactions, which will reduce many abusive behaviors and attitudes in our culture. Abuse is rooted in hate. We merely need to exercise love and compassion socially and to everyone. It is also important to recognize disrespect as a form of disobedience to God. That will leave less room for abusive treatment. Now, as I wrap up my main points, I would like to now summarize. Society tends to be disrespectful and abusive at times, even without realizing it. Physical, emotional, psychological abuse, they are both fueled by hatred. Speaking down to peers, ridiculing, and the me versus them mentality leads us away from God towards hate. This is far from what God values for humanity to experience. Making love and respect core priorities within ourselves is a powerful solution to an abusive culture. Respect all others, for they are an image of God. Genesis 1:27. Remember, one of the greatest commandments given to us is to love. In 1 John 4:7-10, "Beloved, let us love one another, for love is of God. Everyone that loveth is born of God and knows God. Therefore, anyone that is in opposition to love is in opposition to God." Do not be tricked into believing harmful actions are not abusive, because in the eyes of God they are. Hold yourself and others accountable for how they treat others. I ask all of you to analyze your past interactions. In doing so, ask yourself these 3 questions. Would I say or think these words to or about myself? Is this interaction in alignment with being a redemptive communicator? And lastly, since man is created in the image of my Holy Father, would I interact in the same manner to God? And that is the end of my persuasive speech.
Okay, now I quit.